Rookie risers and fallers, welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and our dive into our rookie drafts that are going live. We are going to check out some of my current drafts going on right now, and we are going to give you some insight on some of the huge rookie risers and fallers based on the draft capital that they received. Some of these guys have moved up the boards based on draft capital, some have moved down the boards based on their poor draft capital. Yes, I'm talking Shedeur Sanders, but there are others as well, not just Shedeur Sanders. So let's get right into it. I'm going to get you started off with, let's see, I've got a, how about we do a best ball, huh? Yeah. Let's get into one of my best ball leagues. Right in the middle of it right now. We're nearing the end of round 2. So this one is live and strong. So this is an interesting one. Scoring wise, this is a 12-team Superflex tight end premium, but a minimal tight end premium of half point. However, all positions get 2 PPR. Yes, 2 PPR. 6 points a touchdown pass. We call it the Max Points Best Ball League. And yes, it is a monster. Right now we are at the 210, and we have gotten through, what does that make it? 21 picks here. So have at it. Here is the board. Genty went to, we had this is a fresh off a startup about a month and a half ago in the middle of, yes, it was in the middle of March. I think it was right before free agency hit. So we had to kind of take an educated guess on how free agency would go. We had the combine happen, so we got an idea at least of the rookies, and we drafted rookies with kickers in this one. And I loaded up on the rookie picks. I had the 101, took Genty. Then the 102 went Hampton, so as expected there. Then at 3 went Cam Ward, and then at 4 went TreVeyon Henderson. Now, Henderson is one of the guys, threw him up on the thumbnail for a reason. Basically, how do I say this? He has moved up the boards as much as he could, because now I haven't had him go at the 102, but he's gone at the 103 in, let's see, 3 of my leagues, I think, so far that have drafted. I'm done with 3 leagues. We're into 7, and Henderson has gone at the 103 in 3 of those 7 leagues. So interesting stuff there. Do I buy the rise? That's the question, right? So as good as TreVeyon Henderson is, and we profiled him well, and I had him, give or take, the 3rd or 4th running back off the board. I mean, 3A and 3B were Henderson and Judkins to me, honestly. You could go with either of them before the draft. Now that we're after the draft, you could still go with either of them. Henderson in New England, Judkins in Cleveland. No, I'm not terrified of Dylan Sampson also getting drafted. I know he'll have a role, but what teams don't have 2 running backs? I mean, sure, the Raiders, they have Genty, and the Ravens have Derrick Henry, and the Eagles have Saquon, and that's why those guys are absolute monsters. But for the rest of the NFL, there is basically 2-man backfields all over the place, and these guys are both more talented than the others in their backfields. Henderson and Judkins, I'm talking about. And so I don't think, I mean, Henderson's never been one to have his own backfield to himself, and he's still succeeded. He's put up fantasy points in college decently, and he'll probably do the same thing in New England. And After Romandre leaves, they'll bring in another body to help steal some touches away from him. However, he's still going to be effective, good third down back, great in pass protection. He's going to be on the field a ton in the important point producing situations. However, the fact that Judkins also got a good landing spot, as did Caleb Johnson and the newly anointed RJ Harvey, scooting up the boards here. And man, so you got 6 running backs here with great landing spots. And, what I'm looking to do is buy the hype on Henderson and Travis Hunter. Now, if you want to grab Hunter, I totally understand, because to me, Hunter represents the one guy in this draft that could fight his way into the top 10 dynasty rankings. So if you can grab him at 3, I'm all for it. But you're sitting there at 4 and you're staring down the barrel of Travion Henderson or Cam Ward. My advice is to trade back. I mean, if you're grabbing Cam Ward to contend with this year, that's not good process. I mean, it's fine if you're going into like a house money type season where you're in the middle but you're trending upward. That's fine to grab Cam, but that doesn't mean that you're planning on winning this year, right? I mean, sure, could he have a Jaden Daniels type ascension? Maybe. I doubt he gets to the top 5 though. Maybe top 10, right? They'd have to have some rookie wide receivers step it up. Calvin Ridley would have to have a Terry McLaurin type season from last year. And so that's my point here. With Cam Ward, you're building for the future. Why not trade back and grab Jackson Dart and plus something? Travion Henderson. Well, what are you looking for? What are you getting here? A split backfield. Okay, why not get Caleb Johnson 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 picks later plus something, right? He's splitting a backfield too, but he's the more talented running back than Jaylen Warren is, right? I mean, it's pretty much similar to last season where you had, he's just jumping into the Najee Harris role. So look for 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. Boom. Now, I think Caleb Johnson's got more speed than Najee, so we'll see if that makes him better fantasy-wise. But I don't want to get too over my skis here. But that's the point, and Judkins right in that same boat. So, however, Caleb Johnson and RJ Harvey are a little behind those guys, and you can acquire that. You could draft them plus get something on top of it. All right. So that's where I'm looking at with Travion Henderson's slight ascension. All right. It wasn't huge, but it's been noticeable so far. Now, after that, in this draft in particular, Travis Hunter went at the 105. Love the pick. Tet McMillan then went at the 106, which was a pick that I owned. I traded back, just like I was going into here. It's been pretty clear every single draft I've done has gone Travis Hunter over Tet McMillan. They're usually going like back to back, honestly. However, there's been, I think, one where Travis Hunter went at the 102, and then Hampton fell all the way to pick 5 because Hunter went 102. It was Cam Ward or Tet went 3 and 4. I can't remember which order, but then Hampton fell all the way to the 5th. So that was one that deviated slightly from the norm there, but I can't hate on it because I've pumped up Travis Hunter ever since his landing spot. I was doing it the week prior to the NFL draft with the rumors that he was going to play more wide receiver. So those two things combined, I'm all in on Travis Hunter. Go out and get him. You don't have to trade back if you can grab Travis Hunter. But if you're not getting Omarion Hampton or Travis Hunter, I feel like trading back is the way to go. And get a pick in the late first. If you got plenty of talent there between Like I said, Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, and Egbuka, those are three solid picks in the later end of the first. Now, this one, after Tet at 107 went Quinshawn, then Tyler Warren, then Caleb Johnson, then Colson Loveland. I want to talk about this right here because this was one where we saw the tight ends go at picks 8 and 10. And honestly, this is one of the higher picks going to the tight ends there. I've seen one or two of my drafts where no tight ends went first round at all. I had one where 7 running backs went in the first round because Cam Scattaboo snuck in at the 112. So there was some Cam excitement there and just fading the tight end altogether. And I mean, just in general, over the 7 drafts that have been in that are this far along, yes, the tight ends have been faded, and that's because of the landing spots. Indy was pumped up prior to the draft as a terrible landing spot for him, and it came to fruition. Then you got Colston Loveland, although he went ahead of Warren, he didn't get a great landing spot in Chicago. There's a lot of mouths to feed there. So, just watching along with some of my drafts. So again, with the tight ends, just be careful with it. I will pass on the tight end in the first round and grab, like I said, at the tail end of the first, I'm going Caleb Johnson, Egbuka, RJ Harvey, or Dart. Those would be the guys I'd be looking at. Picks 108 through 111, right? And then I could see taking a tight end, either Warren Loveland or maybe Trey Harris at the 112. That's what I'd be looking at. All right. If you want to take Matthew Golden, fine by me. I'm not going to hate on it. He does have first round draft capital. Personally, I think Trey Harris's ceiling is a little higher, even though I know that Golden has been drafted basically to take over for Christian Watson, who's injured and is done with his contract with the Packers after this season. So, yeah, they definitely drafted him to take over that role. However, with Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, and Dontavian Wicks there, I don't know what his target share is going to look like. And he's just not a guy I see averaging more than 5 or 6 targets in a week. So that's where I feel a little limited there. Trey Harris, on the other hand, I know that McConkey is there, but Trey Harris really reminds me of Mike Williams, A.J. Brown, that kind of mix. And so he's somebody that I actually could see being a target hog, even with Ladd McConkey there. I definitely trust Justin Herbert to be able to feed 2 wide receivers, not feeding 4 wide receivers like Jordan Love has to do. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that part of it. Emeka Egbuka, not really much has changed. It wasn't looked at as a great landing spot in Tampa. However, I think everybody's looking at the brighter side of things there, and the fact that in year 2 or 3, he could really take over and be the top dog. They're in a good offense. Baker's playing like he is. He's probably going to get re-upped, and so I think that's where the fact that Egbuka has held his ground, basically. That, along with the fact that none of the other wide receivers got any smash landing spots, right? Like Golden, and like I said, it's a crowded room. Trey Harris, he's dealing with Ladd McConkey, so none of the other guys jumped into a stratosphere where they're going into a situation as like the lead dog, bona fide number 1 wideout. So that's why Egbuka's been able to stay strong there in the back end of the first. Now I think he slipped to the 201 in one other league of mine, but I mean, I'm drafting with a lot of Packer fans, so Golden is getting a little bit of extra ADV there, right? So, and then after that, we had RJ Harvey go at the 112. Now, I know draft night day 2, we had RJ Harvey go near the mid to end of round 2 to the Broncos. Awesome landing spot, but he was not expected to go that high, right? We were pretty much drafting RJ Harvey, some in the late second, mid-ish third round of our pre-draft rookie mock drafts. And so he's jumped literally like a round at least in the average ADP prior to the draft to post draft. One of the hugest movers so far. And I don't like to just jump all feed in on something like that. Yes, I want a share or two, and I ended up getting a share here. So basically, I traded back the 106 to the 112 plus the 206, and then I got a 27 third, and then later when it got to the 203, he really wanted Matthew Golden, couldn't get him, so then he was willing to trade back again. So then I gave him the 206 and his 27 third. So I ended up getting the 203 anyway, which I used from Trey Harris, and I like Trey Harris a lot. Again, great quarterback situation there, and I think that he's a better all-around receiver than Quentin Johnston. And so, I mean, Johnston's run his course, right? He's going into year 3. He could step it up, I guess, but I just like Harris's all-around game better than Quentin Johnston's, and so that's why I took a shot on Harris. He's holding pretty strong. That's about where he was projected pre-draft. So Matthew Golden as well. Like I said, some drafts he's going, around picks 8 or 9, 10-ish. Some drafts he's going in the early second. Jackson Dart, this is about, same range. If somebody's really high on him, I think he went 108, 109. But in general, it's ranged between the 108 and 201, 202 for Jackson Dart. Cam Skattebo next there at the 304. He hasn't really moved much from pre-draft. I guess some mock drafts, maybe he fell to the third, but right now he's been, like I said, there was one league where he did go at the 112, but that's only one league. Most of my leagues, he's going somewhere from like the 203 to 206 or 7 range. All right, and that's kind of where people had him as RB6. Okay, now obviously RJ Harvey jumped him because of the awesome Denver landing spot, but Skattebo got a decent spot himself. I mean, with the Giants, Tyron Tracy was a big sell before the draft, and now Tracy didn't get one of the top 5 running backs there, but he did get Cam Skattebo to shake up the backfield there, and Devin Singletary's still there, so it could be an ugly mix there with the Giants. It depends on how good their offense gets, with Russ or Jackson Dart. We'll see how Dart does in camp and going forward, and see if he can ignite a charge into that Giants offense and get them some more red zone opportunities, because ultimately that's totally what it comes down to. To have a smash season, you need double-digit touchdowns, right? That's why it's so hard to predict, because there's so many other factors going into getting into the red zone. It's not just one guy having a great season, right? You can have Saquon had a number of good, solid seasons with the Giants. He just wasn't able to get into the red zone that much, all right? Next up, though, another guy in my thumbnail that I wanted to highlight is Jack Bech, okay? Bech was a combine darling. He had that unfortunate thing with his brother passing, and so everybody started liking him a little bit better. And then all of a sudden, the Raiders showed that they really liked him, taking him in the second round of the NFL draft. And this is a classic example to me of somebody just falling in love with a guy that should have been taken in probably the 4th round. Okay, now maybe the 3rd round. I was surprised when he got taken in the 2nd round. Now, who knows? Maybe they were eyeing up somebody in the third round that they knew they'd get there or whatever, and they wanted to make sure they got this guy because he did something in the interviews that they loved. Maybe he's a great scheme fit with Chip Kelly because he's a good blocker, right? Which he is. Okay, he's one of the best blocking receivers in the draft. However, we're playing fantasy football here. I don't know any league that gives you points for pancake blocks, even if they're on cornerbacks. Okay, so Jack Besh is somebody, maybe he could have a Hunter Renfro type season. And yes, I'm using that as an example because it was with the Raiders. But yeah, honestly, like he just feels like, I mean, maybe it's because I liked Luke McCaffrey too much last season and got burned by it. I don't know, but I'm not buying Jack Besh in the second round. Simple as that. I'll take Besh if he's there late third, but I love these running backs in this class too much. Like I don't know how many running backs I would not take ahead of Jack Besh in a regular lineup league. Best ball, totally different. And this is a best ball league, so I understand it. I still, though, am not taking Besh over Luther Burden, over Jaden Higgins, over Jalen Noel. All right, even with Higgins and Noel going to the same team, it's still they're better receivers than Jack Besh. So that's what I'm getting at. We do the process, talent process of the Senior Bowl, the Combine, Pro Days, all of that information prior to the NFL draft so that we know when somebody's talent level gets overdrafted for fantasy purposes in the NFL draft. Now, Jack Besh may have graded out as a day two wide receiver from Pro Football Focus or whatever, but that's again, it's a little bit artificial, especially in regards to fantasy, because he was such a great blocker. That adds to his all-around football ability, but it really doesn't make him a better fantasy asset. Okay, yes, it'll get him on the field, but look at Alec Pierce. Okay, he's a damn good blocker and got him on the field a lot, but he's never been anything good other than in best ball. Okay, so maybe that's what we've got with Jack Besh, and this is a best ball league, so I guess I don't mind it, but I'd still be taking, and I traded back up and scooped up Luther Burden right after that because Burden was going too far down. I don't care if there's three wide receivers there now. DJ Moore, this is the new regime, and so DJ Moore may only have another year in Chicago, and then Luther Burden will be alongside Rome Odunze as the top two guys in Chicago. So I don't know. Ben Johnson took Luther Burden for a reason, and it wasn't because he's not going to use him. All right, next up is Jaden Higgins, and Jaden Higgins, I don't mind for best ball formats. Good solid pick. Dylan Sampson then. As I mentioned earlier, he's the backup to Quinshon Judkins, basically. But he's a damn good running back as well. And so I don't hate that situation. It's a great 1-2 punch. I mean, we don't have to move from the team even. Look at Cleveland's backfield that they had with Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Both guys were startable, right? There's plenty of backfields. Gibbs and Monty, both startable, all right? So I'm not saying that Judkins and Sampson are quite on that level yet, but think about it. I mean, sure, Gibbs was drafted higher than Judkins, right? But David Montgomery was a third-round pick by the Bears. He wasn't like some first-round stud, and he's played well above where he was drafted. So I'm just saying, I don't think Sampson's out of the realm of having, 1,000-yard season combined, rushing and receiving, and still getting up to 7 or 8 touchdowns. Now, the Cleveland offense obviously has to get him that opportunity, and we'll see how the quarterback play works out there in Cleveland, and that's a whole nother story, but we're not focused on that tonight, thank God. Now, remind you, we're live here, so you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Any needy questions in your drafts? I know they're all going on like crazy, and this is what I'm just trying to give you a peek into one of my drafts, and maybe I'll get into another one, but this one specifically is best ball. So mind you, I don't mind the receivers going a little earlier. Personally, in a lineup league, I'd be taking Tootin here, who went after Dylan Sampson, ahead of Besh and Jaden Higgins for sure. But in best ball, I don't mind taking those two. Maybe not Besh, but Higgins I can understand. Right? There's maybe one or two other wide receivers I'd probably take, possibly over Tootin in best ball. But I'm really on Tootin. I think that, it's a new regime there in Jacksonville. He possesses immense speed, good vision. He's just a really good all around back. He had fumbling issues, and so that's why he wasn't really regarded in the elite tier. But damn, man, he could have that kind of Bucky Irving type season there, and it's just, I mean, it's easy to see that comp because he got taken in the fourth round just like Bucky, and it was with Liam Cohen offense. So I think that's what he's envisioning there. All right. So next up is the pick at the 210, and even though I'm up there on top, I had moved that pick to get the 206. I moved the 210 and 212 to get the 206, a future third, and the 401 and 412. And now in a lineup league, I don't know if I would have done that, but in best ball, I like having the 401 and 412 dart throws. This is a league where, the startup was in March, and I scooped up a lot of rookie picks, so I need to fill in some flex spots. Now, I'm not expecting to fill in the flex spots with the 401 and 412, but if I get some, good dart throw at running back or a good wide receiver there, best ball, just have as many wide receivers that you can have on the bench, right? Lineup league, opposite. Get as many running backs on the bench as you can. So it's a simplified, dumbed down version, but I mean, technically, I do like having some backup quarterbacks as well, but really limited. Like, I'm talking one or two backup wide receivers and one backup tight end. That's really all I want at those two positions for a lineup league. Now, again, this was best ball. So let's shoot over to, let's check out a lineup league draft then. Okay. Now we'll check out my Dynasty Land League, which is a 12-team start 9 league, start 9. So it is a little more top heavy. Let's go. Let's do this here. Here we go. All right, this one is nearing the end of the third round. And the pick is actually on me. Oh, okay. Let me talk to... I have a co-owner in this league, so I'm just checking in with him. All right, so this one, let me bring it up here for you. All right, 12 teams, start 9, Superflex, tight end, premium, just a half point. And again, with only start 9, that means that we do have a little bit of I mean, it's more so where we're trying to get the top end guys. I don't care so much about depth. All right. So this one went similar to the last one in that actually the top four went the same. No, top three went the same. Genty, Hampton, Cam Ward, then Hunter, then Travion Henderson, then Tet. Okay, so it was the top six picks were all the same. Tet going at 6. Only Hunter and Henderson flipped here. All right. So notable here is that Genty went 101. Somebody traded up for Genty, giving up the his 103 and 104 to get the 101. The guy that picked then at 104 is the same team, so he is in a bigger rebuild, and he wanted to get stronger at quarterback and wide receiver. Totally understandable versus taking Ashton Genty. Then you had Hampton go at the 2. Now somebody traded up for that pick, gave up Josh Jacobs and the 110, I believe. Yes, 110. So, and there we go. Just had a little bubble pop up on me. All right. So, yes, he gave up Marion Hampton basically and got Josh Jacobs and the 110. All right. Then he eventually traded the 110, traded back as well. But back to the 103 and 104, you got Cam Ward and Travis Hunter. Love those picks for that team in particular. Chris Cash Money, good job on those. I don't love that you gave up the 201 on the backside, but that's neither here nor there because you got your guys who you felt you needed to build. And again, wish you wouldn't have given up that 201 on the backside, but that's okay. I feel like more like the 301 would have been, or a later second, something like that. The 201 still a worthwhile pick in this draft. Like I had said prior to the draft, my big mega tier from 102 to 201 to 202-ish hasn't really changed. The only thing that's changed is Shedeur Sanders fell out of that mix. And now you can see here, Shedeur Sanders did end up going right around where he's been going. He's fallen probably a round and a half from where he had been going. He'd been going pretty much late first, anywhere from like 108 to 112 prior to the draft. Then with the extreme tumble to round 5, obviously going in the 3rd round. The last guy I can remember having such a huge tumble like that was like Sam Howell, but he was definitely not expected to go as high. Like Shedeur was regularly mocked to the Saints right up to draft time. So that was pick 9, right? Instead he goes pick whatever, 200 or something. So yeah, that was crazy. And we're not gonna dwell on it because it's been talked about so much already. But back to this draft. So the top 6 remained the same versus the other. Same pick 7 as well. Okay, so it's pretty much you're getting a top 7 consensus here. Maybe a little fluctuation, but for the most part, this is pretty good, pretty cookie cutter as to what you're getting in the first 7 picks right now. I think we're developing this as the top 7, and then you've got remaining end of the 1st round into maybe the first pick or 2 of the 2nd round. Now is really where you have to decide from 108 to the beginning of the 2nd round, do you or don't you want the tight end? Now for me, personally, I'm pretty much passing on the tight end almost always just because I don't like the landing spots and I didn't see them as elite tight ends to begin with. They weren't Brock Bowers, okay? They're very good, but does that mean that they're very good Sam Laporta style or they're very good Dalton Kincaid style? Dalton Kincaid's still got a great situation, but is he ever going to become more than what he's been? I don't know. And does that mean Colson Loveland or Tyler Warren here are ever going to become any better than what Dalton Kincaid's been? If that's all I'm getting, like, I'm not wasting a 1st round pick on that, right? So that's where I'm looking at it. I think Caleb Johnson and RJ Harvey are the best values there. At picks 8 and 9, you're going to get immediate production versus having to wait for Dart and Ibuka. Ibuka is going to play, but again, with Godwin and Evans there, it's going to be very hard for him to get to like 1,000 yards this season, right? Unless Godwin has to start the season on the pup or whatever, but I don't think so. Like, it was only a broken ankle, and I say that very lightly, only because that was a destroyed ankle, but he seems to be on track to be ready for week 1. And so anyway, that's where I'm kind of leaning Caleb Johnson and RJ Harvey over Dart and Ibuka, but if you're rebuilding, I totally would lean more towards Dart or Ibuka and let the running backs fall. So there's that caveat. So that's why those 4 from 108 to 111 I think could fluctuate easily for myself, even based on team. All right. So then after that is where I'd put Loveland and Warren and Trey Harris. Okay. That would be my personal top 14. Okay. Because I do have Harris ahead of the rest of the pack at wide receiver. All right. I like Luther Burden still. And so he would probably, I could say you would put him right in there into that tier, so it would go all the way to 203 then, I guess. All right. And you could throw Matthew Golden too, I guess, in there, so 204. But, all right, I'm going to stop now. But personally, I'm taking Harris over Golden and Burden just about every time. Maybe if I had one of their quarterbacks, I would go ahead on one team. If I got Jordan Love, maybe on that one team, I would take Matthew Golden instead. Maybe if I've got Caleb Williams, which I don't own Caleb Williams on any teams, so I won't take Burden just for that reason. All right, so moving forward then, you see Scattaboo here went at the 204, pretty much shock. And then we had Jack Besh going again here at the 205. So you can see the hype is real, but is it warranted for Jack Besh? Again, like somebody I think you could get later. And is he any different than Kyle Williams at the 212 here in this draft, right? So Trey Harris was a great pick there at the 207. Love it. Bashul Tutin then, solid pick there at the 208. Jalen Milroe then at the 209. Love that upside swing. Once you get past the Trey Harris pick, it's really just about telling yourself a story. Because even Bashul Tutin, as much as I love him and blah, 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 you're still telling yourself a story that he's going to beat out Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby to get to the level of paying off at this price, right? So keep that in mind. Once you get to the late seconds, like if you don't need, like if your roster is already full, this is a time where you start kicking the can forward. You start trading those seconds for next year's seconds. You package it up so maybe you package your second and third this year so you get 2 seconds, something like that to increase value on your roster if your team happens to be just fully loaded and you don't have any more room for players. It happens. It's Dynasty, okay? There's some teams I've got that are so stacked, like I traded away all my picks this year. So, just the way it is. Now, if I've got a team, which I do, like that previous league, I drafted so many rookies, like I could take on 10 rookies and I'd be okay in that best ball format. All right, after Tutin and Milroe, love that pick. Dylan Sampson at the 210 went. Don't hate that. Tyler Shook at the 211. Now, I probably would have leaned Tyler Shook maybe in this format a little bit. It kind of depends where I'm at quarterback. If I'm set completely with 2 studs, I'll take the swing on Milroe. But Shook, if I'm if I'm got one really good quarterback and then my second and third are kind of wishy-washy, that's more where I might lean Tyler Shook, I guess. So between Milroe and Shook, it could depend on team, because Shook's got a more direct path to playing. Like he literally could start week one. Jalen Milroe, very unlikely to start week one here. Sam Darnold got paid. He's going to be the starter week one unless he gets injured. All right. After Shook, we had Kyle Williams, who I mentioned earlier. Don't hate on that. He got third round capital to the Niners. I don't know how well. No, sorry. Why am I saying that? I'm thinking some dude they got picked later. Kyle Williams went to New England, and he's got great opportunity, but Jalen Polk had a great opportunity last year. Javon Baker had a great opportunity last year in New England. So it all really comes down to Drake May and his development with Josh McDaniels. I expect the offense to be better than last year, but I think everybody does. I mean, how much worse can they be there in New England? So ideally, Kyle Williams learns from Stephon Diggs. Very similar type receivers, honestly. Diggs was a fifth-round pick. Was it sixth? Fifth round, I believe, in the same year that Laquan Treadwell went first round. Y'all remember Laquan Treadwell? I do, because I liked him. A little too much. Now, I wasn't all in on him, but I remember drafting him. Now, this is one lesson that I'm going to give you, and this is why I do this just about every year at the draft, right after the draft. And I look at the guys that are draftable, I look at their Twitters, and I want to see what kind of stuff they're posting, right? Are they posting that they helped out in the community, that they were doing good things beforehand? Were they helping out at a food shelter, something like that? Were they working out? Is that what they're trying to do? Are they communicating? Are they cheering on guys? You know that one dude at the draft, he's the corner out of Kentucky. Man, that is the kind of attitude you want to see. The dude congratulated every guy that got drafted all the way up until he finally got picked near the end of round one. It was awesome to see, really, right? Meanwhile, you've got videos coming out where Shedeur Sanders is just messing around, trying to make Cam Ward laugh at the combine, I believe it was, and Cam Ward's like, dude, if I threw the passes you were throwing, I would have had a 90% completion percentage if I was just throwing bubble screens up. And then he's just shaking them off and throwing the ball. Focused on football. Shedeur focused on his brand, not Cam Ward. Okay? So that's another bump up for me for Cam Ward. Now, I honestly haven't drafted him yet in any of my leagues, but that doesn't mean I won't. And so we'll see going forward. However, man, the slide for Shedeur, it just becomes more and more apparent as we get more stuff coming out. Like, no kidding. And you'd think that getting picked in the fifth round would humble somebody, but honestly, all I've seen from him is even more arrogance. Like, now I'll show you guys. Now I got a reason to prove it. Well, that's not, he's not saying it in a humble manner, okay? So, I don't know. Wouldn't be shocked if Dylan Gabriel is ahead of him for good, and Shedeur is somewhere else at some point in 2025. Anyway, after Kyle Williams, we had Jalen Noel go at the 301, somebody who I really liked pre-draft. I was taking him mid-second round, so I don't hate this value. He does have the landing spot in Houston, so he's got a good quarterback. However, again, he has Jaden Higgins there, teammate from Iowa State, going with him to Houston. So it's a little crowded there. Hard to see somebody getting big fantasy production opposite Nico Collins. Now, I will say this, that I do like Noel still ahead of Higgins, even though Noel went in the third round, Higgins went in the second round. Higgins is going to be a guy that's better in real life than fantasy. Higgins is going to have that role where he's just clearing out space for Nico to operate, right? And Jalen Noel. Noel's going to be running the Tank Dell routes, basically. So think about that. Noel, not a bad scoop here at 301. Shedeur Sanders then goes at 302. Well, I guess if you want to take a shot on a quarterback, I'd rather take a shot on Will Howard 2 rounds later in the 5th or 6th, but that's all you. Jaden Blue going in the 3rd round then to the Cowboys. He got 4th round draft capital. Cowboys don't love to take running backs, and that's who they decided on. I wish they would have taken somebody more like Damian Martinez or whatever, but I don't know. I don't hate it, I guess. Let's see. I got an answer here, so let me answer my... Okay, so we're debating between 2 players, and I'm not going to mention those 2 just because somebody might be watching, and so you can follow along the board here. I'll say this, there were 2 running backs, but that's about it. So then after Jaden Blue, we had Jalen Royals. It's not surprising. I've talked nothing but about running backs, and in this format, running backs is the way to go. Then this is a league where we only keep 18 players and cut, so we do throw a decent amount of guys back into the pool, and we have a 7-round draft just to make things a little more interesting than others. So yeah, Pat Freiermuth was somebody that was available. Mid-level tight end, whatever. He took Elijah Arroyo as well. He had back-to-back picks there and took back-to-back mid-level tight ends. Interesting selections by the champ. But, hey, you do you. Elijah Arroyo, not excited about the landing spot in Seattle. He's got a battle with Noah Fant for targets, as well as JSN, Cup, and Torrey Horton. So, tell yourself that story, man. Mari Cooper then went, doesn't have a team yet, but he's going to sign somewhere. Then Mason Taylor going to the Jets. Good landing spot there for Mason Taylor because the target share is wide open, and I mean wide open there for the Jets. I don't care how bad you think Justin Fields is. The dude's still going to throw it at least 15 to 20 times a week, right? And if Mason Taylor can carve out 4 or 5 of those targets a week to start with, you could see something there with Mason Taylor. So we've decided on, okay, I'll finish up. Devin Neal was somebody that we were looking at. He went 2 picks ahead of us. Like the landing spot there in New Orleans. Good opportunity with Kamara. Kamara's typically split the load with somebody, and now Devin Neal can come in and hopefully become Mark Ingram again. That's what they're envisioning. Elikiah Manor then went. Like the landing spot in Tennessee, great opportunity opposite Calvin Ridley. They did draft Chimere Dike as well as scoop up Xavier Restrepo after the draft, who's Cam Ward's best friend from Miami. So, you got 3 rookie wide receivers coming into Tennessee with Cam Ward. I like that opportunity. It's a good fit for all of them, really. And Aya Manor, pre-draft, had the most talent, so I think that he's got a good shot to be the best of the 3 rookies at least. I don't know that he's going to outscore Ridley year 1, but who knows? They're rookies. They surprise. All right, so now it's our turn to pick here, and we are going to go, let's see here. roster. Yes, we are going with the top guy on the board, Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon, of course, had a down season, drafted in the 6th round of the NFL draft, and went to the, oh boy, what did I do here? Okay, that's what I wanted to do. Went to the Miami Dolphins. So I like the landing spot now. I didn't love it early on because I was like shocked that the Dolphins would take somebody like Ollie Gordon. I figured they'd take somebody more like a Jaden Blue type, Dylan Sampson type. That's who I thought they'd be looking at. Somebody that could just burn. Now Ollie Gordon can't do that. He is much bigger, right? He weighed in. He played at like 226, and then he came in weighing like 10 pounds heavier, but then still ran a 4.58, which weight adjusted speed dropped him down to the 4.4 range. So whatever, take it for what you will, that weight adjusted thing. I mean, the fact is still you run what you run. Like, I mean, it's like Tampa. We signed that fat ass from Florida, right? Desmond Watson. And so the guy weighs 464 pounds, right? And he runs a 5.6. So then they start doing the analytics on that, and essentially, they take it down to a 275-pound linebacker. What that would be ran at. So he'd be running like a 4.6 if he was 275 pounds. If he was a 230-pound running back, he'd be running a 4.3. And then if he was a 200-pound wide receiver, he'd be running a 3.9. Like, that's just dumb. Okay, nobody's running a 3.9. We all know that. So it's just goofy. The fact is the guy's still huge, and if he's got to run 40 yards, he's going to be running it in 5.6. But that's not the reason that Tampa picked him up, obviously, to run 40 yards at a time. He's running so that he can stand up and create a wall and stop the tush push. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see if the dude makes it. I mean, it's fun nonetheless because Tez Johnson was the lightest player drafted. Tampa took him in the 6th round, and or was it the 7th round? Yeah, it was the 7th round. We didn't have a 6th rounder. That's why. That's right, because they literally told Tez Johnson that on the phone. We would have taken you in the 6th, but we didn't have a pick in the 6th. And it's great because they told him that. And then on top of it, him and Bucky Irving were best friends back at Oregon. So that's nice to see. Hopefully Tez can make it. I mean, he's a playmaker. I don't love the fact that the dude's so light, but, I mean, Tank Dell made it. I don't know. We'll see. Our wide receiver room's so loaded anyway. I don't know what kind of role he can carve himself. But maybe he'll be a punt returner or something too. I don't know. Anyway, that is the Dynasty Land draft, where we're at there. Hopefully you enjoyed me talking about some risers and fallers. And this helps you going forward with your drafts this month of May. Exciting times. It is rookie draft season. Enjoy them. Please drop a like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Patreon and put in your comments there as well. But drop the comments here first in the video. That's what helps the video perform better. That's what helps keep the birdhouse rolling. We need all the support we can get. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you comment. See those shorts that I put out almost daily and look for them. I'm giving more tidbits. I had been doing draft profiles for the last month. Now we're getting into draft season, so I'm trying to do a couple of comparisons. The first one I did was Travis Hunter versus Ted McMillan, who I would draft and why. Next up, I'm going to be looking at some running backs, I think, but stay tuned for those. and more. And in the comments, if you have an idea for a show that you'd like me to put out, by all means, throw something down in the comments. I did this show based on something somebody told me just 3 hours ago, literally. So, hey, it's amazing where you can get some content from, right? Most of the time I drum it up myself, but hey, this is draft season. I want to know what you guys want to know about, because literally there's so much content right now that I could throw out there. It's hard to organize which order I should put it out in. And so you got something you want to know about, you want to hear me talk about, let me know, and I will be more than happy to try and squeeze it in as soon as possible. With that said, enjoy your drafts this May, and remember, never stop working.